All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with another quick little post-fight thoughts video because I'm going to go back and do another video on this fight and talk about the actual fight and my analysis of this one because I did watch it 2 times and I'm going to go back and watch it 2 more times. But let's talk about the situation right now with Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. Right now, we got the whole boxing world, even the MMA world, and the casual world in this huge uproar about the result of this fight, right? Everybody is screaming that Vasily Lomachenko was robbed and Devin Haney got beat up and he was outclassed, this and that. Really, I don't know what fight they were watching. I really don't know what fight they were watching because in my honest opinion, this was a close fight. This was a very close competitive fight that Devin Haney really had to work hard to win. That's right. I'm one of the ones that believe that Devin Haney did win this fight after watching it 2 times. I know people get mad at me on this one, but once I had it 9 rounds to 3, another time I had it 8 rounds to 4. I just think that Devin Haney, he was doing a lot of good work in there, much more committed to certain offensive movements he was doing and just, neutralizing some of the flurries of Vasily Lomachenko. I just think that it was a competitive fight, but overall, I think Devin Haney did enough to keep his belt. Again, this wasn't like no wash from Devin Haney, in my opinion, but I think that Devin Haney definitely stayed one step ahead throughout, even a little bit more than the first half of the fight. Now, when it came down to it, in the later rounds, Vasily Lomachenko definitely showed that old man strength. He definitely showed what it is to be like a true strong boxer, not just physical strength. Going into this fight, I didn't really like when Devin Haney did do that little shove to prove that he was a stronger man because in reality, we all know, even boxing fans know, it takes more than a shove to prove that you're the stronger man. And what Vasily Lomachenko did in the second half of the fight is what you do to prove that you are the stronger man. Show that you can withstand punches, show that you can get a second win, do the pushing in the right scenarios, you know what I mean, where he was kind of shoving Devin around through the later parts and, putting the lean on him to kind of wear him down. That's how you show physical strength. But with that being said, I think Loma kind of waited too long to start to get that type of roughhousing in and landing those combinations because for the most part, I think Devin, he did enough to win the second half of the fight and even some of the rounds in the second half of the fight. I thought he was outboxing Vasily at times and just landing cleaner punches. Vasily Lomachenko was landing some combinations here and there, and like there were some rounds where he would double up on the left hand. He would kind of snap Devin's head back with the left hand, but it was kind of far in between. He was never doing this at a constant rate. Like when you see Manny Pacquiao outbox some of these guys like Chris Algieri, and, he comes in, even like the Jeff Horn fight, I thought he won. When you see a guy like him coming in with that speed, he's constantly doing that round after round. He doesn't really take so many rounds off. See, Lomachenko took too many of the first round, took too many of the rounds in the first half off to clearly stay ahead of Devin. Devin already kind of secured like a good body attack in this fight. He was just staying one step ahead. So in my opinion, I don't think that this fight was in any way a robbery. People just don't understand. I say this even on my MMA channel. I've been saying this forever since I've been watching fights. The one thing I've always said is that a close fight is not a robbery. A close fight is not a robbery. A split decision is not a robbery. I mean, there's situations where we have seen people robbed in fights, but a close fight like this cannot be called a robbery because, for one, nobody was ever really in full control. Lomachenko was never in full control. Lomachenko never really had control until rounds 10 and 11 in the fight. And I think that's just where people start to get crazy and emotional when you get to the championship rounds. But people have to understand each round is scored separately. What you see in the later half of the fight is not what you score the whole fight. That's not how you score the whole fight, okay? So if you see Vasily Lomachenko buckle Devin Haney in round 11, that doesn't give him the fight, okay? And once you see Lomachenko land a bunch of flurry pity-pat shots on the guard of Devin Haney and you hear the crowd cheer, that doesn't mean Lomachenko's winning the fight. The guy landing the more clean, effective blows throughout rounds is that guy. Even if he's having to really work hard to do it, that's the guy that's winning the rounds. Like, Devin was winning some very, very close rounds in the first half because Lomachenko was in the fight and he was tagging Devin every now and then with like that left hand up the middle to split the guard of Devin Haney, or Devin Haney wasn't moving his head enough, but Devin Haney was constantly digging to the body. Even like whenever Loma would try to pivot, he would crack him with that right uppercut to the body, or he would just kind of like throw the jab to the face and then he would stick that body shot out. And there were times where he would pivot with him or smother the flurries of Lomachenko. Or when Lomachenko would let his hands go, he would punch back, So that's what kind of drained Devin, I think, because Devin was fighting one of the highest level fighters he's ever fought before, right? So Lomachenko was able to get to Devin. I'm definitely not going to knock that. He was able to get to Devin in the later part because fighting a guy like this that moves a lot on his feet and throws a lot, and he's constantly moving and bouncing around, that's a lot to deal with. That is draining. So, yeah, Devin was kind of gassing towards the end because he was dealing with some high-level boxing there. But I still think that he was able to overcome adversity and still hang in there. Towards the later part of the fight, he started to fall apart. But I gave Devin round 12. Honestly, I gave Devin round 12. So he was able to come back. This was his first time fighting such a high-level fighter. So I have to give him credit there and say he was still able to stay in the fight. But Lomachenko definitely gave him a tough mental test, but he just didn't do enough himself to win the fight. I think Lomachenko did better in the Teofimo fight than he did in this one. Honestly, I think that he was able to get to Lomachenko. I think he was able to get to Teofimo more in like rounds 7 through 12 and bust up Teofimo more in that fight and do it consistently. Whereas here in this fight, he was getting hit clean. Lomachenko, look at his face and look at his body. He ate some clean shots in this fight. He was getting left side of his body was red. I mean, he had a mouse under his eye. Devin Haney had some wounds too, but I mean, look at how Lomachenko looked in this fight. Devin was cracking him. Especially like I said, where he would do that stab and punch to the body. People weren't looking. He was digging into Lomachenko's body. There was a point where Devin hit him with a body shot too, and you could kind of see Lomachenko's legs kind of give a little. Even there's one point where Devin just kind of bumped him and Loma fell down, So these shots were getting to him. So Devin was doing his work. Devin was doing his work. Now, again, when I watched this fight both times, I had it Devin clearly winning the fight, but he really had to work to get the 9 rounds or the 8 rounds that I think he won. He was really having to work to get them. That's why he was drained by 10 and 11, and he started getting hit more because to stay ahead of Loma is very draining, especially for a young guy who's never faced a fighter like this and that came in with all this energy. So when it comes down to it, whether you like what Devin did or not, or you don't like him or not, or you hate him because he shoved Lomachenko, just be honest. Like, the fight was very, very close. It was not a robbery. Devin Haney shouldn't have shoved him in the beginning because I think that kind of added more to the fire of, people just being against you and saying that you lost even when you did win. But when it comes down to it, I thought Devin did enough to win the fight. Now, if you feel like Lomachenko won the fight, that's one thing. You can make that argument for me because maybe you're looking at the offense. But when you tell me that Lomachenko was robbed, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Lomachenko was never in full control. You're making it sound like Vasily Lomachenko was working from rounds 1 through 6 or something, and he won like 5 out of the 6 rounds, and then he like totally dominated the second half, which he did not. Devin Haney stayed more consistent on his game plan and just neutralizing Vasily Lomachenko at times. Again, I'm going to repeat. Lomachenko came on stronger in the second half, clearly winning round 10 and 11, in my opinion. And maybe like a 6 and 7 in your eyes, or maybe 8 and 9 to some of y'all. But again, you have to look at what Devin was doing and see how people can score that as a winning round. This fight was not a robbery. I don't care what the majority says. I don't care what the MMA fans say. I don't care if people want to put it under investigation. I think it's just kind of like a brainwash thing with people. Like, when they hear the crowd or they're so against a person, they just start scoring it. They would do it with Manny sometime, whenever Manny would score like a flurry that didn't even land clean. Like when they played back a flurry that he threw on Adrian Broner once, the crowd went crazy, so everybody thinks that's a scoring moment. But every single shot just got deflected, or like he did that to Mayweather, like when he let his hands go and some of the shots were deflected, like 4 or 5 of the shots were deflected, people just cheer and roar, and they think that's the winner of the round, or the winner of the fight. People always just remember what happened in the last couple of rounds, but they don't understand there's a scoring system to this. I've seen robberies and I know what a robbery is, but again, this was not a robbery. Okay, this was not a robbery in my opinion. Should these two run it back? I don't care. I'm fine with that. I just don't think that Devin Haney can make 135 anymore. I don't think it's gonna be an easy task for him. He's a big guy. I think that kind of cuts into his stamina and even his durability. Even his power. I think it kind of takes away from his power. He's kind of draining himself down to 135. So if he can make it clean, one more time for a rematch with Vasily, okay, fine. But other than that, I don't think Vasily Lomachenko should be out here crying and saying that he was robbed. I kind of think that was a play up. Me being honest, like I said, I like to be honest even on my channel. I'm not going to talk a bunch of crap and bash fighter, but I think he was just kind of adding more fuel to the fire to get more fans on his side, to get more people to hate Devin Haney in this situation. Because he even went as far to say Linares and he even went as far as to say Jorge Linares was a better fighter than Devin Haney, or Teofimo was a better fighter. Come on, man. Like, how can you say that? Jorge Linares got stopped by you. He quit, and he got beat by Devin Haney. And then Teofimo, look where he's at right now. You know what I mean? He's a mentally unstable fighter. I mean, people think Loma beat him, right? And since then, he hasn't been the same. I think Devin Haney's a much more educated guy and a much more dedicated fighter to the sport. People just have to look past their personal feelings and give the guy respect. Like, I'm not a big Lomachenko fan. I'm not really a Lomachenko fan, but when it comes down to his skill sets and his cardio and what he was doing in there, I gave him credit all day long. I liked some of the things he was doing against Haney towards the end, just because he's an older man like me. At times I'm like, oh, okay, like some younger guy going to shove you like that before the fight, and then you're the older guy and you can prove that you're stronger. I like that type of stuff. I like when an older guy can kind of, school the younger guy in certain situations. But in this situation here, Loma kind of going off a little bit on the deep end here, going to the affected crying. I don't think it was that serious, man. I think he just, is trying to get those fans on his side. But I thought he lost the fight. I did. But again, if you think he won the fight because it was that close and competitive, fine. But don't call it a robbery. That's all I'm saying. Do not call this fight a robbery, because nobody was in complete control. All right. So that's what I just wanted to talk about in this video, because I watched it twice, even on my vacation. I had to watch and see what was going on. But I might go back and do like a breakdown of it, and then just give my opinion of how it went down, throughout the rounds, and who I think dominated at any point in the fight. Like whoever, well, I won't say dominated, but who was in somewhat control, right? Who was in somewhat control, and just how I saw it, like what I think a lot of people were missing. Because again, the majority, the casual fans and the emotional fans, they're going to overlook a lot of things like they usually do. They always will take away a lot of credit from people. That's just human nature for people. They let their bias and they let their feelings cloud better judgment, right? So that's how I see it, guys. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.